Hi, I'm Arthur, and today we continue our adventure of trying to figure out as much about all the legions as possible. If you haven't been following me, I am going on a journey to explain in simplest terms who are each of the 20 original Space Marine legions. Last week we covered the Iron Warriors, and this week we are covering what may be the trickiest to pin down of all the original 20, and that's including the 2 chapters whose whole shtick is being secretive and hiding information. The White Scars are such an odd topic to discuss. They're one of the 2 or 3 legions that are described as not fighting like traditional Astartes. I know the Night Lords are like that, and possibly the Alpha Legion, but I know literally nothing about the Alpha Legion, so I'm probably wrong there. The White Scars are just weird, but that isn't really their fault. Their aesthetic is fucking beautiful. Snow white with red lightning bolts decorating it and gold trim for more important lads in the rank and file. They have a very Mongolian aesthetic with the whole horseback rider, archer type deal. But instead of riding on horses with swords, they're riding on motorcycles and grav bikes with hyper advanced chainsaw weaponry. Practically the same thing if you squint, I will say. They have a very rich cultural background, and is one of the few examples of the Emperor allowing a culture to continue to exist and have its religious beliefs even after they were brought into the folds of the Imperium. Their Primarch, whom has gone through many different names, the one everyone seems to call them most is Jaghatai Khan. He is just the first Primarch I'd add into my blunt rotation, if I'm being completely honest. Where every Primarch up to this point is a good character study for the follies of the human condition, Jaghatai Khan he's kind of a cool guy. He has his defined boundaries, he has respect for those around him, he is friendly yet stern, he is brutal but intelligent. He's just very well-rounded, which is one of the reasons why the White Scars are like the weird pocket pick for coolest legion. They have a culture that isn't anything like the other legions. They have a fucking hard as shit paint scheme to do. Seriously, if you've never painted a miniature and just follow the lore, I'm just gonna let you know, painting white sucks. And other than the bikes thing, they don't really have much of a gimmick on tabletop. Perturabo is comically known for being bitter, and his Iron Warriors are known for having hard to move and hard to displace guys who have very large volumes of fire to just kind of overwhelm. Fulgrim is the pink twink with highly elite trained melee units. Guilliman is just a fucking nerd who's a well-rounded nerd. But Jaghatai, other than being fast, doesn't have a stereotype. Which, being fast is cool and all, and using the motorcycles thing is really interesting, but he's not the only legion to do that. If you played Dark Angels, you know that the Ravenwing have guys on bikes who have specialized melee units for being on bikes. Jaghatai Khan pretends to be a savage around people so they underestimate him and his legion. He treats his men like equals while understanding the differences between him and them, even having eye-to-eye conversations with most of the people he encounters in his chapter. He laughs, he loves, he enjoys fighting and conquest, but he isn't evil about it. He encourages his men to enjoy things like fighting, combat, arts, and so on and so forth, without having them lose any degree of discipline. So, in short, he's just kind of a bro. Also smartass. He scorched Fulgrim to cinders with but a single comment. And that comment, I'm not going to go into it because it's funny, and if you know, you know. But when he said it, I genuinely had to stop reading. So to give you a bit of his background, he was sent to the planet Chagoris due to some meme magic from an Eldar god. Growing up on the flat grassy plains of this homeworld, he learned how to fight and hunt on horseback, had a caring father figure, and a well-rounded childhood. Well, as well-rounded as, a murder on horseback and conquest-driven tribal societies can be. But there was one of those moments where you could see where his character could have gone down a very dark path. But he ended up choosing the best of 2 options. Essentially, his father figure was killed in a raid/war/whatever from one of the rival tribes. In his rage, Jaghatai attacked the tribe and got the revenge he wanted, and also he enjoyed it. Realizing that he enjoyed it a bit too much, he actually tempered himself and realized that murder is fun, But what's more fun is when you do murder for a good reason. And say it with me now, one thing led to another and he became the forever king of the whole world. There was a lot in between there, but it's not so important to get an idea of Jaghatai or the White Scars. The only thing that you really need to know is that as he conquered every individual tribe and settlement, instead of annihilating them outright, if someone threw down their arms and swore fealty to him, without blinking, he would allow them in. Everybody was fairly treated under his banner. Everyone got to ride with him, and everybody was seen as a brother as long as they worked with him to accomplish the same goal of uniting the Chagoris society. Chagorian society? Chagorian society. Being brought into the folds of the Imperium, he found his legion to be weird. They weren't really equipped to fight the way he did. Originally called the Star Hunters before he found them, they were described as a scout-based, heavily mechanized battalion that were distributed all around the universe. They specialized in, again, mechanized combat in heavy vehicles to get as close to the enemy lines as humanly possible, so they were deployed as scouts for other legions. He taught the ones that were in the Legion before he found them very quickly how to fight like he did, which is where we get into the reason why they are called the White Scars. The main reason is, as a rite of passage to joining the chapter, you have to ritualistically scar the left side of your face, a show of brotherhood and devotion, basically displaying that even if you come from different worlds, you all are brothers, united by this one common factor, which is the scar that's on your face. Which is kind of the best way to describe the White Scars. All that information may seem a bit scattered. There's a lot in between to kind of unite every single thing together, but it's all congealed to show you that the main goal of the Khan was preservation of his planet's culture, which is represented in the Legion. They are very reclusive, but not aggressive to outward cultures. He has his ships decorated to match his homeworld. He has shamanistic psychers, whom are called weather makers, or rather they were. He acknowledges the world around him gladly, but has a secure understanding of himself and his own beliefs. This idea translates to pretty much the whole chapter, where even though they work for the greater good of the Imperium, they do so without being absorbed into it completely. There is no true assimilation. They have this Chagorian culture that permeates the entirety of the Legion, and they don't let anyone shake their beliefs. They will allow new members to come in, they will accept them with open arms, and as long as you believe in the same things that they believe, they'll allow you in. And even if you don't, they will still treat you with respect as long as you fight with a degree of honor and dignity. They were loyalist, of course, and are still around today. Their Primarch ended up going to wage a forever war against the Goth Elves in the Webway. The White Scars of current day, as I said, are still around, still riding bikes, and still kicking ass. Even though they are considered Codex compliant, they still maintain their culture through this Codex compliance. As mentioned before, they will never abandon their roots, while still respecting the world around them. The companies that represent each individual division of a Space Marine chapter are, instead of being called the battle companies, referred to as brotherhoods, with names like the Spearpoint Brotherhood, the Talwar Brotherhood, etc., used to denote the different duties, each one originally coming from a different tribe and a different roaming group of people from Chagoris. Each Marine in the White Scars is usually a master swordsman, even by Marine standards, with a propensity for high-speed shock and awe tactics. Because, you know, racing in on a fucking attack bike with a power sword can be pretty intimidating to the uninitiated. Though, to be fair, I don't know many people, master swordsmen or not, who would be able to react to that even if they were initiated. If I were to give a thesis statement, they specialize in speed. Big whole lot of mega speed. Much like their dear old papa would want. And to wrap things up even further, other than the high-speed tactics, they do have numerous heavy weapon squadrons, which I suppose is a bit of a callback to their original days as the Star Hunters, with heavy mechanized units and heavy weapons. Also, heavy infantry marines called Devastators that have incredibly big weapons, usually meant to be affixed to the sides of tanks, that tend to only be deployed during the most dire of situations. though they do favor high-speed melee more often than not. They have many different specialized ranks that, although still remaining compliant with the Codex, does skirt the line a little bit. Their captains are called Khans, with the chapter master being referred to as the Great Khan. One of the weirder titles that they have is called a Master of the Hunt, an individual whom is tasked with hunting down the biggest fuckers possible and bringing their heads back to the fortress monastery on Chagoris. Which, by the way, there's a lot of those heads there. These dudes really like taking heads and keeping the skulls as decorations. Let's, not think about that too much, because it might end up pissing someone off. This may be a bit sparse in information in comparison to the other videos. That's kind of the point. There isn't much we know about the White Scars because they tend to keep to themselves. There's an ancient scholar referred to in one of the Primarch books. I think it was in Jagatai's book, actually, whom says he's having too much trouble finding information about the Great Khan and the White Scars, to which the Emperor looks at it and goes, yeah, I did that. That's funny, right? Which, weird flex, but okay. So, they are reclusive and take satisfaction in getting the job done. They are strong but not prideful. They are very dignified in their work, and I find that very commendable. So if you like motorcycles, speed, cool as fuck Mongolian aesthetic, speed, painting white, and fucking speed, then maybe White Scars are for you. I'd highly recommend it. More people need to play these Marines. Regardless, thanks again for watching. And remember to tune in next week for the 6th Legion, aka the Space Wolves. I knew I'd have to cover these guys at some point. Well, might as well get this over with. At least with how loud they shout all their stories from the mountain peaks of Fenris. There is a lot more lore to go around. And also really shittily named everything. Hey, it's post-video Arthur here. I just want to say that I had a lot of fun researching all of this. I kind of went into this thinking that Jagatai Khan was going to be one of my favorite Primarchs, and I was really happy to find out he probably might be. I don't know if I like him more than I like Perturabo, but, as just a friendly guy, he seems cool, and I like him for that. Yeah, that's everything. I hope I got the majority of the lore right. It was kind of hard looking for it. The White Scars are very hard to pin down in terms of, the general gist of how they act as people. So, reading what I could, I put together what I could, and I hope it was informative and accurate to everyone's standards. Thanks again for watching. And I'll see you next week when I make this fucking Space Wolf video.